What's up everybody, Matt Moran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week, but before I get into the news, I first want to give a huge thank you to PetrolBox for sponsoring this week's update. PetrolBox is a monthly car culture subscription box, and I really enjoyed the last box that I got a few weeks ago, and so this time they sent me the September box to check out, and it's full of all kinds of cool stuff again, like this half plush, half waffle detailing towel, a magnetic socket base so you never lose any of your sockets, there's a spray-on wax, an air freshener, a C5R Corvette pin, an NSXR sticker. You also get this month's featured member car magnet, and also one of PetrolBox's t-shirts here, which are always super comfortable and really nicely made. Plus, you'll win a set of rotiform wheels if you find the golden ticket in your box. Each month's box contains different things, and there's also 2 different tiers to pick from, a smaller basic one that gives you 2 to 3 items, and then this premium one that gives you 5 to 7 items. You just choose whether you're into domestic, European, or Asian cars, or everything, along with providing your shirt and glove size, and then you just wait to see what each month's surprises are. So head over to mypetrolbox.com and subscribe now. When you do, be sure to use promo code MattMoran for $10 off your first box as well. But for the first news story this week, Top Gear sat down for an interview with the retired head of the Hyundai N division, Albert Bierman, and in the interview here, he revealed that we were working on an N supercar, and he says this is before all the other N models that we have today, and that this thing didn't have a name, but was simply referred to as the chairman's car. The project never got far enough along to detail exactly what kind of setup it would have actually gotten, so he said that they were just envisioning a mid-engine car with a carbon fiber tub with hybrid or hydrogen propulsion under consideration, at least back then. He also said it would have been similar to an NSX, but not boring, are his words. I don't agree the NSX is boring, but to each their own. And he also said the reason why it didn't get made was that he says it would have cost over $150,000, and at that time it was thought a Hyundai could not have this price. The justification then, I mean, it is understandable. I mean, even these days, you know, a few years later, $150,000 for a Hyundai is something that's unheard of and hard to justify still. And on top of that, you know, it's just a shame though, you know, like, yes, there is that reservation there, but, you know, whenever I was hearing the rumors previously about a mid-engine Hyundai, you know, we're seeing all the RM, you know, prototypes running around, you know, which is basically a mid-engine Veloster, and there was multiple versions of that, and the Veloster is small, it's a small wheelbase. I was assuming they were going to do some type of like MR2 revival and have something that, you know, has the Veloster powertrains in a mid-engine setup and a small little affordable thing and be like a modern MR2. I think that would have done super well, and you could have sold that for, you know, $35,000-$40,000 or something like that, and, you know, had a really fun little vehicle for those who, you know, wanted something mid-engine, convertible potentially, or even a hardtop, and just have, you know, an affordable mid-engine thing. I think it would have been super cool. You know, I don't know what they're still planning with the RM stuff. Obviously, all those development mules, I think, are just going by the wayside because the new one's electric, but it's kind of a bummer that that never saw the light of day. The supercar thing I'm less sad about. I don't think anyone's really too bummed about not having a Hyundai supercar, but having some type of Hyundai version of an MR2, I think, would have been something really exciting for an enthusiast. And so, anyway, you know, we'll see if Hyundai decides to make a production version of the N Vision 74 concept that everyone loves the styling of. I really hope, you know, that thing's got hydrogen, which obviously doesn't make sense for the current times, but if they actually did an electric version of that with the Ioniq 5N powertrain, you know, I think that could be really, really sweet, especially if they keep true to the styling there. So we'll see about that, but anyway, unfortunate to hear the supercar didn't make it. And it's basically heavy-duty truck week this week, thanks to the Texas State Fair. And so Ford, GM, and Ram all debuted new stuff this week. So first, Ford has revealed the brand new 2023 Super Duty trucks. So the body is all new, as is the electrical architecture that now supports the extra tech, but the frame isn't all new. Thankfully, this time they admitted it. They say it's an optimized version of the previous generation. And like the previous generation, it'll still be offered in regular, Super Cab, and Super Crew configurations. Styling wise, you can see it's got some headlights there that are more seamlessly blended into the grille now and a little bit different with their look. There's also 7 different grills to choose from depending on what trim you end up getting. One cool touch though of the grille, they say, is that the design allows allows them to shield the headlights in low-speed impacts to hopefully avoid requiring expensive headlight replacements with minor little bumps, which is great. On the sides, you see it also has fender vents that are larger, and they also help with aerodynamics, and they are functional. Out back, you'll see that Ford has followed along with GM's great idea of putting built-in steps in the bumper, and they even took it one step further with built-in side steps there, which kind of reminds me of the side step versions of the F-150s and stuff they had back in the day. Pretty cool. You got the side steps there. There's still the pull-out step in the tailgate as well if you want to use that. And the bed also now is available with the Pro Power onboard outlets that debuted in the F-150, but only up to the 2 kilowatt system, since the Power Boost powertrain isn't offered here in the Super Duty, so it can't do all the stuff that hybrid F-150 can do. But otherwise, as far as gas F-150s go, this can match those in the Super Duty here. It also inside now gets an 8-inch touchscreen as standard, with the 12-inch screen from the F-150 being offered again as well. And while there's still plenty of physical controls, the screen is now also able to control your custom upfit equipment as well. So you can program in all kinds of custom accessories and control them with the screen, which is pretty sweet. It also can be had with the digital gauges from the F-150 and head-up display. Other great F-150 features that were brought over here are the max recline seats you can get in the Super Duties now, as well as the flip-out work surface. Other great tech is the 360 camera can now provide a bird's eye view of your trailer and automatically backs up and aligns the trailer hitch with the trailer. Other trailer-friendly stuff here is that also you can get available modules that can attach to your trailer to enable blind spot monitoring for the trailer, and the car will accompany that. And the navigation system can now also account for your trailer and its dimensions to make sure that it doesn't take you anywhere that the trailer can't fit, which is pretty impressive that the navigation is smart enough to realize the hazards around it, at least the built-in ones, and avoid stuff, which is pretty cool. And lastly, there's a tailgate down camera to provide a rear view even if you need to have the tailgate down, which is handy. One important piece of tech that is missing though still is the Blue Cruise hands-free highway driving, which is really a shame, since I feel like Super Duty owners probably spend more time on the highways than probably any other Ford owners. They could use this the most, but unfortunately they don't get it. I don't know if it's because they're worried about towing and how that would throw it off or what, but I believe you can still tow with Blue Cruise potentially in the regular F-150s. I don't know, but anyway, it still does have regular adaptive cruise control, and that also does have lane centering, so that gives you some assistance, just not the hands-free thing. Powertrain wise, a new 6.8 liter V8 is the new base engine now, giving it the bragging rights of the most powerful standard gas engine in the segment. And they won't say exactly what the power numbers are just yet, but the motor is a downsized version of the 7.3 liter Godzilla motor, and they say it will also have more low-end torque than the old 6.2 liter V8. And then the 6-speed auto has also been thrown out, and the 10-speed automatic is now standard across the board in all the Super Duties. And the 7.3 liter V8 is still available, the Godzilla motor, and it's actually more powerful for 2023 here thanks to a new intake and tune, but there's no power numbers yet for that one either. And the 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel V8 is still offered as well, and now has more oil capacity for more miles between oil changes. There's also a more powerful high output version you can get now with a new turbo, exhaust manifolds, and tune, but you guessed it, there's also no power numbers for that one either. Ford claims it'll have best-in-class payload, torque, and gooseneck and fifth wheel tow ratings though, so apparently it's going to be best in class for that. There's also a bunch of different trims just like before, including the Tremor, which makes a return. Plus there's a new XL off-road package to provide 33-inch tires and some other off-road improvements for those that want a base truck, like a work, base bare bones truck, but they want better off-road capability from the factory. And so there's no pricing for these new trucks yet, but they'll be arriving here in early 2023. Chevy debuted the refreshed 2024 Silverado HD, and so this is the 2024. It's interesting, Ford's is a 23, and this is 2024, even though they're coming out around the same time. But anyway, the new 2024 Silverado HD gets the same nicer interior that the regular Silverado recently got, along with a new front-end design and a more powerful engine. I think compared to the bolder look of the past few years, though, the new one definitely is an upgrade in the looks department. Looks a little more traditional while still, looking really nice with those new C-shaped LEDs, and still looks pretty nice and high tech. And for those that missed the past Silverado news, that new interior provides a 13.4-inch touchscreen and a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, among other improvements. So if we are counting by the numbers, this new Silverado HD will have a bigger touchscreen and a little bit of a higher tech feel than the 12-inch screen in that Super Duty. But if you don't like all the tech here in the Silverado, the lowest two trims still get the old interior as well. Engine-wise, the gas V8 is carryover, but it's now hooked up to a 10-speed automatic, instead of the old 6-speed as well. So Chevy and Ford doing the same thing here, throwing out the 6 speeds. The 6.6 liter Duramax turbo diesel V8 gets big bumps in power as well, going from 445 horsepower to 470 horsepower now, and from 910 pound-feet of torque to 975 pound-feet of torque. So we'll see, what the Fords end up doing, with their power. But I believe that Power Stroke already does more power than that. But cool that at least Chevy's giving us all the info on theirs already. And still, hasn't crested the 1,000 pound-feet of torque figure like we've seen also with the Ram as well. But still, Chevy says that low-end torque has been increased by up to 25% for better performance at low speeds and going up hills. It'll also now tow up to 36,000 pounds, so that is right up there with the best, really. And speaking of towing, it now adds a trailer feature to the adaptive cruise control that now accounts for the trailer's drag to adjust braking distances based on drag, not just weight, but also on the drag. So they really are fine-tuning it there, which is cool. But unfortunately, there's still no Super Cruise available yet, either here in the Silverado. So, man, the first one of these Super Duty trucks to do any kind of hands-free stuff is going to be, I think, the one that will just really run away with the sales, because that would be so nice again for these long-distance guys and girls in trucks still. And so you'd think that they would really prioritize doing the hands-free thing for those truck buyers, but unfortunately that's not the case here. And so we'll see who does it first, GM or Ford eventually. But anyway, there's no pricing for these yet, but they'll be available starting in the first quarter of 2023. Lastly, Ram's debut is a little smaller, but they debuted the Rebel version for the 2500 heavy duty. So previously Rebel was only on the 1500s. Now it's available on the heavy duty as well here. So it's similar to the 1500 version, and it's similar to the Power Wagon. That's why it kind of looks similar to the Power Wagon 2500s, and just a little less off-road capability and the availability of the Cummins diesel engine here, which you can't get in the Power Wagon. So on the outside, the Rebel gets a unique hood and badging along with 20-inch wheels on 33-inch tires. It also gets a unique off-road suspension, four-wheel drive, a rear electronic locking diff, it has skid plates, and also a worn 12,000-pound rated winch. And it doesn't get the front locking diff or the electronic disconnect sway bar from the Power Wagon, though, so still a little less capability than the Power Wagon. But like the Power Wagon, the 6.4-liter gas V8 is standard here in this Rebel 2500. But again, the big news is the 6.7-liter Cummins turbo diesel inline 6 that's unavailable in the Power Wagon is available here. And it does 370 horsepower, 850 pound-feet of torque, along with its 6-speed automatic instead of the 8-speed you get with the gas engines. And towing is much higher than the Power Wagon 2 thanks to the diesel, towing 16,870 pounds instead of the 10,590 pounds of the Power Wagon. And same goes for payload with 3,140 pounds of payload versus the 1,630 pounds for the Power Wagon there. And you can get the Rebel relatively basic with cloth seats if you want, or you can load it up with leather, digital gauges, and even adaptive cruise control if you want. And so they'll be starting at $68,940, including destination, and they'll arrive here in the fourth quarter of this year. So first one to arrive, and so cool to see that. And some other Mopar diesel news. A poster on the JL Wrangler forums recently shared a slide that reportedly is from a dealer email that revealed a new FarOut trim for the Wrangler that says it's the final edition of the Rubicon diesel. Later this week, Jeep did confirm the FarOut edition, along with confirming that it will in fact be the end of EcoDiesel Wrangler production, but it did note that the diesel will continue to be offered in the Gladiator. So as far as the diesel in this FarOut edition, Jeep's North American Senior Vice President said, "At Jeep, we are always listening to our customers and driven to improve on our legendary 4x4 capability. The Wrangler Rubicon FarOut Special Edition is our tip of the hat to the EcoDiesel technology on Wrangler. It'll give you the hood graphic and badging, unique wheels, and come bundled with several different option packages along with the usual Rubicon equipment." I had an EcoDiesel Wrangler for a week. I really liked it. I thought it was a really nice punchy powertrain. The thing is, these days though, the 4xe version has basically just as much power, and unless you're doing a long highway drive, the 4xe will give you better fuel efficiency as well with that electric range and stuff. So anyway, if you are interested in one of these FarOut Wranglers, it won't be cheap either, which is probably another reason why it probably doesn't sell super well. A dealer on the forum post claimed the MSRP will be $64,485 before options. So I mean, man, it's crazy how expensive Wranglers are. So I mean, that diesel was an expensive upcharge as well, which is probably part of why it also hasn't been more successful. But Anyway, interesting to hear that. Another thing that's coming to an end this week is the Lamborghini Aventador, which is ending production for the second time, but it's for good this time. So, it already ended earlier this year, but then was restarted to replace the 85 Lamborghinis that were destroyed in the fire on the Felicity Ace cargo ship fire back in March. And so the final Aventador here is this blue Ultimate Roadster, one of only 250 in that version. Over the 11 years of production, though, 11,465 cars were delivered, which is over double the amount of Murcielagos they've ever built, and also more than any of the other V12 models combined. So, I mean, a ton of vehicles, a huge success here for Lamborghini. And it also sounds like the Aventador successor will be coming pretty soon as far as, what's next here. Now that the production line has been freed up, there's the availability to start building some new stuff. And we have seen lots of spy shots that I haven't been able to share here, but if you, are online, you'll be able to see, there's spy shots of the Aventador successor out there running around. And it looks like it's in production bodywork, so it should be debuting pretty soon. Could be the LA Auto Show in November, potentially, or, they might wait for Geneva, but I believe Geneva's already been canceled still for next year. I'm not sure, but not sure when they're going to debut this, new, V12 thing, but it should be fairly soon because also they're working on the Huracan successor as well. And there's rumors that that'll be coming sometime fairly early next year. So, they're running out of time. So my bet would be LA Auto Show for the new V12 supercar from Lamborghini, but we will see. And the only thing Lamborghini said about it so far is that it will continue to have a naturally aspirated V12, but that this time it will have hybrid assistance. So this last Aventador is the very last unhybridized V12 here from Lamborghini. So very interesting to see that. It's been a great run for the Aventador. In some other Lamborghini news, they revealed the Urus S this week, which is an interesting vehicle. So it's basically a refresh for the Urus, so no big surprises there. It gets a new bumper design, front and rear, a new vented carbon fiber hood, an available carbon fiber roof, new wheels, and new customization options. But the confusing part is that they gave it the same new engine tune that the Performante version got. Typically the Performantes are, faster versions, but in this, the Urus S is going to be just as powerful as the Performante, so it takes away some of that Performante's superiority. Now, all Uruses are going to be doing now 657 horsepower, 627 pound-feet of torque, but the 0 to 62 mile per hour time is now somehow 0.3 seconds slower than the Performante at 3.5 seconds. That is 0.1 second faster than the old regular Urus, so it's an improvement, but it's strange that the same exact amount of power and you're magically 0.3 seconds slower. I feel like that might be an underrating, but I don't know. Anyway, it also gets a new exhaust that Lamborghini says has a more distinct startup sound and a sharper note for each drive mode. One big difference, though, for the compared to the Performante is that, aside from the styling and the tuning and all that, the suspension is different. So the Urus S continues with the air suspension for better comfort, while the Performante has the fixed, dampers set up there. And so interesting that, that's the way they've gone here for this. But it certainly makes sense that the Performante is a little, harder edged at least. But that's going to be the differentiator, is the harder edge thing, not any kind of actual straight line performance, really. And so that's interesting. And so U.S. pricing hasn't been revealed yet, but it should be available here, relatively soon. Ferrari has revealed a new one-off model that they built for a very lucky client called the SP51. So it's based on the 812 GTS, but gets rid of the power folding roof for no roof at all, and a sportier roadster design, which does look very nice, along with unique styling and unique paint. This shade of red is called Rosso Passionale. Mechanically, it appears to be the same as the 812, but no details were given on that. And who knows how much this thing costs to make. They did a bunch of wind tunnel testing. I mean, it's very comprehensive. It's like engineering your own car, really. But after a 2-year process, that's what it takes. This has become a reality for this client. So whatever, crazy price they paid for it, huge congrats to the new owner of this vehicle, and hope they enjoy it greatly. It's got to be an incredible place to be able to, design your own Ferrari like that. And moving on here, BMW has fully revealed the 2023 XM this week, and it's the first standalone M model since the M1, which is a big deal. And as far as the production styling here, I certainly think that it's a little less offensive to my eyes than the concept was, but it's still very busy looking. I'm not going to rant about BMW styling again. I'm sure many of you will let me know your very strong thoughts on this in the comments below. But it's just, I don't know. I don't get why it's so hard to make something that's just good looking at BMW these days. Anyway, inside it's almost as bold, especially with the blue and vintage coffee merino leather combo, which vintage coffee just sounds like stale old coffee to me. I don't know why vintage coffee sounds like an attractive name for a leather color. Anyway, it also has an interesting design to the headliner that you can see there. It's kind of interesting. Tech-wise, it's the same dual screen curve setup that's currently being copy and pasted across much of the BMW lineup. But very impressive still from a tech standpoint. Mechanically, being the flagship M model, performance is kind of top-notch in a way, but kind of not. So it's kind of underwhelming compared to the rumors we were hearing as far as these astronomical power numbers. So as far as straight line performance goes, it'll be decent, but it's still, it runs the twin turbo 4.4 liter V8 combined with 194 horsepower electric motor for a total of 644 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. So the motor on its own peaks at 483 horsepower for the gas engine, but then it can't produce that peak power at the same time as the electric motors, which is why it's only 644 horsepower instead of, almost, 700 horsepower. So anyway, if you are looking for more power out of these, later next year, a label red version will be arriving that bumps power to a more impressive 735 horsepower and 735 pound-feet of torque. But even that figure seems low, though, considering the M5 competition can already do over 600 horsepower out of that same engine. Why it seems to be tuned down for, again, this ultimate flagship, first M model since the M1, why it can't get as much power as the M5 competition from the gas engine, I don't know. 735, even for that, red version, the label red version, it just seems a little underwhelming, honestly. And because of this, acceleration is also another disappointment. It only does a 4.1 second 0 to 60 time, which is much slower than, there's sub 3 second times for the M5 competition. Even the M3 competition manages to do an under 3 second time, almost, over a full second faster than this thing 0 to 60 for a, $80,000 M3. An X5M is also faster. That's like a 3.6 second 0 to 60 time. Even the electric iX M60i, it's not even a full-blown M, it's just the M60i version. That's several tenths of a second faster as well. And even like the i4 M50i does like a 3.3 seconds 0 to 60. Everything with an M badge almost is going to be faster 0 to 60 than this ultimate M, supposedly. And so it's just strange from a marketing standpoint. If this is going to be the ultimate M, then it needs to have ultimate M performance. I get that it's a massive SUV, but I don't know, it's just the branding seems all off with this thing. And so, for all these reasons, in addition to the controversial styling, I don't know how this thing's going to do. It's very rare that a vehicle truly flops these days, but if there's a candidate for that, I think this, could be it. Again, I who knows what I know? I'm just a lowly person here, looking at, pictures on a screen, but it just, I don't know what BMW is thinking, honestly, as far as the positioning of this. It just seems kind of confusing. And I think that, unless you're a super loyal, diehard BMW fan with a blank checkbook that'll just write checks to BMW for whatever, I don't know really who's going to be appealing, to this thing. Because, wait till I get to the price. That's going to be the last kicker here. But one thing this does have over the other M products is EV driving, which, again, I don't know how many M people actually care about that, but if you happen to be one of the handful that do, it'll do 30 miles of electric range from its 25.7 kilowatt-hour battery. And otherwise, it has a rear-biased all-wheel drive system, an M Sport ELSD, active roll stabilization, four-wheel steering, so all that should help it with handling. But this thing will also almost certainly weigh a ton. X5Ms aren't light already, and then you add in a big battery pack, electric motors, and all kinds of other stuff. This thing is going to have to be super heavy. So, I would expect it to be a letdown in the handling department as well, compared to its competition at least. And so, here's the last kicker, that price. So it's going to be starting at $159,995, $160,000 to start. When it arrives for a 4.4 or 4.1 seconds 0 to 60, $160,000, and they'll be arriving in the first quarter of 2023. And then that faster label red version is going to be costing over $185,000. Yes, it's 735 horsepower, and by the numbers, that will, have more power than some of the stuff out there, even some of the exotic stuff out there. But then you look at the 0 to 60 time, and you see it's way slower than, an Urus or something like that, and you're basically like the same speed as like an Aston Martin DBX, which is, the same price, and you have an exotic brand versus a BMW. And also, I mean, when you really, if you want to be tough on this thing, compared to the RSQ8, Porsche Cayenne Turbo, all that kind of stuff are tens of thousands of dollars less than this XM, and they're also faster. They're all doing low 3 seconds 0 to 60 times for way less money, with, what I think most people would agree is better styling as well. So I don't know about this. I kind of think BMW's lost its way, and this is really the ultimate example of that, I think. I mean, let me know again what you think about it in the comments below, but I hope they don't plan to make a bunch of these, because I don't think they're going to be able to sell very many of these, honestly. But anyway, interesting to see that. For some better BMW news here, though, they revealed also a refresh this week for the 2023 Z4. And I first just have to say that I'm just thankful the Z4 is still around, so that's a win. And also another win is that the BMW design team thankfully was kept at a distance with this refresh. So they just did a very minor little change to the grille and the front bumper, but other than that, I mean, it's basically unchanged, which is great. Again, because I don't trust them with future designs. So I think that the Z4 is one of the few remaining BMWs that actually look really nice. It also sticks with the older screen setup on the inside, and so the critics of the new iDrive 8 infotainment system will probably be very happy to see that this continues to use the old stuff, it appears. One surprising thing though is there was the rumor just a few weeks ago that seemed to be pretty legit that this was going to be getting a manual here, just like how the Supra got the manual, and since they're on the same platform sharing parts and stuff, that seemed to make a lot of sense that it would get the manual as well. But at least as of right now, there's no manual here for the 2023s. So that turned out to be false. Maybe that Supra manual really is unique and, really is exclusive to the Supra and will not be shared with the Z4. Although the more manuals out there, the better, but kind of cool if, Toyota actually got that win of, getting their own unique manual here, despite the other, BMW parts and stuff. So other changes are new colors, including this awesome Thunder Night Metallic, which looks like the purples that BMW's offered in the past, and the M Sport package now comes standard on all Z4s as well, so they're all going to be a little sportier. There's also an M Shadowline package that gives you darker headlights now too, if you want those, and it'll be going on sale in November, starting at $53,795 for the 30i version and $66,295 for the M40i. And so yeah, just great to see that it continues to stick around here, and so great to see that. Another vehicle that got a small refresh this week is the 2023 Infiniti QX50. So the biggest addition here is this new sport trim, but unfortunately it's only an appearance package. It gives you dark 20-inch wheels, a sportier front bumper, gloss black trim, and badging, along with 12-speaker Bose stereo and semi-aniline leather seats there on the inside. Infiniti has also thrown in a few small features like wireless phone charging as standard now, but unfortunately they didn't improve the interior otherwise. You can see here you got that 8-inch top screen, a 7-inch lower screen. That just looks kind of dated these days, just a little less impressive than most of the other stuff out there in this very competitive luxury SUV segment, especially considering this thing still has a starting price of $41,495, including destination, and that doesn't even get you all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is $2,000 extra on most trims aside from the top trim, and so this sport trim also starts at $49,695 with front-wheel drive still. So if you want the sport with all-wheel drive, that'll run you $51,695. But anyway, they'll be arriving at dealers this month. Another struggling brand, though, Mitsubishi. They've revealed these specs finally for the plug-in hybrid version of the new Outlander here. So, thankfully, it has some great improvements over the old plug-in hybrid Outlander, even though it isn't still best in class, but it is actually pretty close to being best in class in some ways. So it continues to run the old naturally aspirated 2.4 liter instead of the new Nissan 2.5 liter the other Outlanders run now. But so it's still the same kind of setup where the gas engine is basically a generator for the electric motors, and so it can provide direct power, in certain instances, but it can be very similar to like the parallel hybrid system you have in the CR-V hybrid and stuff like that. And so the electric motors in the battery pack have been made larger this time around, and so you get a 20 kilowatt hour battery now and a total of 248 horsepower and 332 pound-feet of torque. That's less than the 302 horsepower the RAV4 Prime has and the 261 horsepower that the Tucson plug-in hybrid has, but that battery does give it an impressive all-electric range here of 38 miles, which is like 5 more than the Tucson and just like, I think, 4 less than the RAV4 Prime. So, I mean, really solid amount of electric range there. There's no no 0 to 60 time given as far as performance goes, but expected to be around the Tucson, I'm guessing, which is about a 7-second 0 to 60. And so it'll be starting at $41,190, which is a little pricey for a Mitsubishi. It's also a few $1,000s more expensive than the old plug-in hybrid one. But, it still does come in cheaper than a RAV4 Prime and a little bit more expensive than the Tucson. So that's kind of where it's positioned. But it is, in its defense, the only one that technically has a third row. You can also get the Sorento with a third row, but that's going to be more expensive as well. But the Sorrento's third row is actually usable. And the Outlander, it sounds like it's really tiny and almost unusable, even if you're a kid. So, anyway, this Outlander will be arriving at dealers in select states starting in November. So it won't be a national rollout until, I believe, sometime next year. But anyway, very interesting to see that. And some other plug-in hybrid news here. Bentley has revealed an updated plug-in hybrid powertrain for the Bentayga. And you can also now get the plug-in hybrid not only in the regular Bentayga, but also now in the Bentayga S and the Azure trims, meaning the only one without the option is the speed version. And so the bigger battery now provides 27 miles of range, which is a big improvement over the 18 miles or so of the old system, along with 455 horsepower now from the twin-turbo V6 and the bigger electric motor. They'll do a 5.3 second 0 to 60, and the S version gets stiffer dampers and even a new hybrid sports exhaust that they say brings a stirring symphony of sound within the cabin, but they reveal that it's at least partially stereo based because the sounds can actually be adjusted for the front and rear passengers separately, which seems like it would be really odd sounding, if you have, one person picking one type of sound up front and then you have to blend with another sound on the back. That seems strange. But and then if you go for the Azure trim, that tries to be as quiet as possible with noise canceling tech, in addition to the fact that you'll be silent for 27 miles or so. So I mean, with these additions, half now of their 14 models in their lineup are now electrified with the plug-in hybrid option. So Bentley's pretty proud of the fact that 50% of the lineup is now electrified for those who do want that. And so anyway, very interesting to see that, and expect those improvements to also carry over to the Flying Spur, which also has the plug-in hybrid available as well, but we'll stay tuned for that. I'm sure that's coming soon. And some other electric news here. Polestar has once again teased the Polestar 3, and they also announced it'll be debuting here on October 12th. And along with that, they showed off a new angle here, and they give us some more specs here, a few more specs. They say it's going to have a 111 kilowatt hour battery and an impressive 517 horsepower and 671 pound-feet of torque if you go for the performance pack version. It'll be on the new SP2 platform that Volvo and Polestar, you're going to be using here going forward. And speaking of that platform, the other vehicle that will also be on that same new platform is the Volvo EX90, which they just announced and confirmed that name this week, and also debuted a few other little things before the full reveal of this, which will be coming here in November. But they did emphasize about this EX90 that the gas-powered XC90 will continue to be sold alongside it for the foreseeable future. So this won't be a direct replacement, but expected to kind of be a replacement in some ways, or at least a successor. And so the EX90 name also clearly means that something has changed. Since the summer of 2021, Volvo executives back then were quoted as saying that they are going to be getting rid of the alphanumeric thing and going for real names going forward. And that's only, about, a little over a year from, since that they said that, and clearly things have changed because now it's called the EX90, which is a whole lot less exciting. The rumored name for this thing was the Embla. I don't know what happened to that or why they changed, but anyway, it'll be debuting on November 9th, but if patent images that leaked out are accurate, then we already have a pretty good look at what it's going to look like, which again looks like an evolved, electric version of an XC90 and how you would imagine that to basically look. And so they also said that standard safety in the EX90 will be beyond that of any Volvo before it, and that they're still working towards being 100% crashless and 100% carbon neutral for the whole company. And to help with the crashless part here, it'll have cameras, radar, and LiDAR sensors to create what they call an invisible shield that they say can reduce serious injury and fatal accidents by 20% and overall crash avoidance by 9%. It also will do advanced driver monitoring that is beyond what has been possible in a Volvo car to date, and they say it will softly nudge the driver if it notices that they're distracted, escalating all the way up to pulling the car over and calling emergency services if it detects that the driver is unconscious, which is a really great, safety feature there. And also, another truly pioneering piece of technology here is that they will also be the first vehicle to have in-vehicle radar. And so this can detect even tiny breathing motions at the sub-millimeter level, they say, and alert the driver of these occupants when they go to lock the car. They thought that was the best time to alert the driver, as they assume that you're going to lock your vehicle if you're leaving it for a while and you're not just stepping away for, 5 seconds or something. So whenever you try to lock the car, if it detects something inside or someone, then it won't let you lock the car and will say, hey, there's something in there. Are you aware of that? And if you do acknowledge that, yes, there's something in there and you do want to lock the vehicle and leave it, then it will activate the climate control system and make sure that it is comfortable in there, assuming that you're, leaving for a very brief amount of time or whatever, or it's, a large adult or something in there that can handle being in a car alone by themselves. It'll keep the climate control on for those occupants to keep them comfortable and also safe, which will hopefully help with overheating and, freezing kind of situations, things like that. So pretty intelligent stuff. And so Volvo, they have a very humble approach to this too. They say, no one chooses to be distracted or tired, but we know it can happen. We're all human and distraction is a fact of life. With the help of cutting edge technology, we'll support you when you're not at your best and help you avoid leaving family members or pets behind by accident. Which I think is great. That's an awesome, mission. And they also did say this is going to be limited by regulations. I guess in certain areas, in certain places, you're not going to be able to do in-vehicle radar. I guess there's laws against it for some reason in some places. But yeah, it's really cool that, they're doing this. They said that I believe since 1998, 900 children have died from overheating accidents and stuff. So yeah, it's really a commendable thing. And so they say it's going to be standard on all EX90s. And I'd expect this to also be standard on all new Volvos, that they can integrate this into, whenever they roll out new generations, I'm assuming, of, future Volvos. And so it's just really great to see how passionate Volvo is about safety. And so anyway, we'll stay tuned here for the reveal on November 9th for the whole vehicle. But anyway, that's it as far as all the news this week, guys. But before I go, I want to give a huge thank you to Rafi Ahmed, who is the new member that joined here in the Matt Maran Motoring Club that we have going. So huge thanks, Rafi, for joining. I really, really appreciate the support. I hope you're enjoying the perks so far. And for anyone else who would like to, have the perks and join and become a member and support the channel, there will be buttons here to join on the video page, on the channel page, and also a link in the description. Also, be sure to check out the link in the description for mypetrolbox.com if you're interested in signing up for one of those. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Please continue to stay safe and healthy, especially those of you in Florida here with the hurricane this week. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.